Up next, I'm going to bring to the stage Peter Ledwidge, who is the Managing Director for Mako Gold.
Hello, and thank you for coming to listen to my talk. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais souhaiter la bienvenue à tous les délégués francophones qui se sont déplacés de l'Afrique et pour les délégués de la Côte d'Ivoire, Aqaba. Here's a disclaimer. So what I'll be, that went too far, sorry. So I'll be talking about our Napier gold project, where we have 868,000 ounces, and I'll be showing you a clear pathway of how we're going to grow that. As the facilitator just mentioned, our team has made 5 gold discoveries in West Africa already, and recently we made a manganese discovery. The manganese discovery has excellent infrastructure and is very large, as you'll see. And you heard Mr. Cissé talk about the potential of both gold and manganese, and that's why we're in Cote d'Ivoire. So we've got a very low market cap, about 7 million, but you'll see that we have some very strong and loyal supporters. You see Dundee out of Toronto owns 8.4% of us. Deutsche Balaton out of Germany owns about 4%. Geodrill, our contractor of a very long date, owns 3.4% of us, and Lowell Resources out of Melbourne owns a significant amount. And you'll see that board and management are heavily invested in the company, which is what shareholders want to see. The association with Purchase is a joint venture that we consolidated, and they have equity in Mako, so they're a good company to have on our share register as well. So our board and management, very strong West African experience. Our chairman, Michele Musillo, a corporate lawyer who deals with M&As, IPOs, and so on. He was on the board of Orbis Gold, a very successful takeover, as well as Cardinal, that was taken over a few years ago for about $500 million. Steve Zaninovich, a very strong experience in West Africa. He was with Griffin, the COO, and they discovered the Wagnian mine. And then he went on to Teranga and helped put that into production. And myself and my spouse and colleague of 30 years, along with Ibrahim Bondo, are the founding members of Mako. So when Orbis got taken over, we started the company. And then very strong chief geologists, both Ibrahim and Boukare, have been working with us for 15 years since our Orbis days, and a very strong technical team. So why are we in West Africa? You can see there's over 400 million ounces of gold discovered there. It's about the same width as Western Australia, and if you compare that to Western Australia, and by my reckoning, there's been about 250 million ounces of gold found. So a very good place to be. You can see the previous discoveries we made with Orbis Gold. I'm not going to talk at length about them, but that included the Natugu project, which became the Bungu mine, so that was 2 million ounces at 3.4 grams per ton. So collectively, including what we've discovered at Mako, the teams discovered about 3.5 million ounces of gold. Why we specifically in Cote d'Ivoire? I think Mr. Cissé had some very good points about it, and I agree with all of them. Very supportive administration. You can see a picture of Abidjan. It's a very wealthy country by African standards. Very safe country. You hear about the negative thing in neighboring countries. You know, there's not those problems in Cote d'Ivoire. It's a well-financed military and police force, and it's not an easy target. So we're very happy to be there. The infrastructure is excellent. They produce enough electricity to sell excess electricity to neighboring countries. So it's a pretty green footprint when you put a mine into production, because a lot of that electricity is hydroelectric. So we've got two projects. I'll tell you mostly about the flagship Napier Gold project. and we own 90% of that. And it's in the same belt as where Tiedo made their discovery that just got bought out by Zhaojin recently. And that was the only belt, greenstone belt in West Africa that did not have an operating mine. So Tiedo, you guys beat us to it, but we hope to be the next in line here. And I'll talk about our manganese project, and that's 100% owned by Mako. So first, the Napié Gold Project, just under 900,000 ounces of gold, and I'll tell you how we're going to increase that to at least 2 million. So here's the picture of the permit. It's a large permit, 30 kilometers north-south. The little red squiggly things that you see, those are the resource. So only about 13% of the entire 30-kilometer length of the permit has been systematically explored by us. And over 93% of our resource is 150 meters or shallower. So obviously there's lots of room to grow along strike and at depth. So here's a cutaway of the project. You can see the resource, Chagga and Gog Bala, and along that 30-kilometer fault. You can see that Chagga was drilled quite densely, and our resource is inferred, but when we update the resource, because it was our training ground, Chagga is likely to automatically go into indicated resources. We've done our preliminary metallurgy, and both oxide and fresh rock have returned over 94% recovery. So we did that very early on in the game. We wanted to make sure that we didn't have a refractory deposit, and we're pretty confident that we don't. So we wanted to have all our bases covered very early on. There we go. So here's the Chagga part of the deposit, 545,000 ounces. The resource is just under 900,000 ounces at 1.2 grams per ton, but you can see there's high-grade pockets in there. So with further exploration, we feel pretty confident we can get the grade up. You can see these 3 high-grade areas where the white arrows point, and I'm not going to read off the numbers, but some pretty spectacular numbers in our drilling. So we feel that by drilling deeper at Chagga, as I mentioned, we drilled an average about 150 meters. By drilling deeper, there's a good down to 300 meters. We got a pretty good chance of doubling that resource just at Chagga. So here's a cutaway of the Gog Bala deposit. I like to call it New Zealand, the North Island and the South Island, and there's the ocean in between. And so there's a 300-meter gap there that we haven't drilled. And you can see going up to that gap, there's that high-grade red blob. That's high-grade gold. So our next round of drilling, we want to infill that, and that'll fit nicely into a pit shell once we do that. I'll show you those 2 sections, that A, B, and C, D, and you'll be able to see the huge potential of drilling a little bit deeper here. So here's the first section. You can see very consistent mineralization in every drill hole, and the beauty of it is as you go deeper, the mineralization gets both wider and stronger. So we got pretty small writing, but it's about 11 meters at 7 grams, and then 4 meters at 5 grams or so. That's drilled to the 150-meter level. So our next drilling program, you can see that blue planned hole. We want to drill deeper there and eventually drill down to 300 meters. So then all of a sudden that 323,000 ounce resource has a potential to be 600 or 700,000 ounces. Same with the second section. Again, you see very consistent mineralization in every drill hole. And at the bottom, we have 13 meters at 3.5 grams or so. Very encouraging at only 150 meters vertical depth. Now, another prospect that we really like is just south of the Gog Bala resource. We call it Gog Bala South. We did some very wide-spaced fences of drill holes, 400 meters spaced apart. So to give you an idea, the Eiffel Tower is 300 meters tall, so that the spacing is bigger than that. And we came up with some pretty decent results, 6 meters at 6 grams, 9 meters at 1.4 grams. So a little bit more drilling in there, and we think we can add another few 100,000 ounces of resource there. So the area we've been working on since about January is Chagga North. You can see the northern tip of the Chagga Deposit at the south end of that map. And we've been doing stuff that's not exciting to the market. It's been like mapping, rock chip sampling, trenching, stuff that isn't exciting, but it's the work that needs to be done because basically that's an area that we hadn't done very much work on. And we're looking for the next target on that so that we can do a resource drill out. Our rock chip sampling came out with fantastic results, up to 70 grams per ton. We did some recent drilling there that I'll show you on the next slide. This is where we did some drilling. We did 4 scissor holes there, and underneath that artisanal mining site. If you look at that site, it's very reminiscent to the early pictures that you saw at the Tieto, and we think that, there's a lot of similarities with that. Now, the artisanal miners only go down to about 40 meters or so, and then the water table shuts them down. So they're not going to steal all our deposits like some people think. So we intersected 7 meters at 5.5 grams per ton there, a very good start, for drilling, just 4 drill holes. And the reason we did scissor holes is because we didn't know which way it was dipping. So this is another target where we want to drill to the southeast and underneath that hole that gave us some good results, and then we can move that forward. Now I'll talk about our manganese discovery, and 90% of manganese is used in steel making. So you can't build steel without manganese. And so we found what is an enormous manganese deposit, and we were looking for gold and saw a lot of manganese on the ground, so we seized the opportunity. You can see it's 8 kilometers long by 4 kilometers wide. These gray bands you see are manganese bands that we've identified from our geochem, and the little red and other colored triangles are the rock chip samples. We've mapped every single rock chip on there, and we've had values up to 33, 35% manganese. In order for manganese to be economic for the steel market, you have to beneficiate it up to above 30% and preferably closer to the high 30s. And we're actually doing a metallurgical test right now to do just that. Went one slide too far here. That's okay. With bulk commodities, you need good infrastructure. There's no sense in finding something if there's not any infrastructure nearby. And we're blessed with our discovery. You can see our permit in red there. 10 kilometers to the west is a high voltage power line that feeds the 5 million ounce Barrick Tongan mine. And 40 kilometers to the east, we have our railroad. As an added benefit, there's a dam on both the north side and the south side of the permit. So we've got all the infrastructure we need to move this project forward. So we're not the first people that would be putting a manganese project into production. There's 4 current producers. You can see the black stars where they are. So they're shipping their manganese by truck down to the port of Abidjan or San Pedro. And we're looking at an operation where we've got a railroad right beside us. So we're looking at something very substantial there. ESG, that's we've lived and breathed it right from day one, always believed in it. We have very good governance, very good directors. We drilled a couple of water wells for the community in conjunction with our drilling partner, Geodrill, who came in 50-50 on it with us. And they didn't use their drill, by the way. Their drills were busy, so they ponied up the cash. So we appreciate that. They're in the room, so thank you, guys. We respect the environment. You can see our drilled rig there. We're not cutting down a bunch of trees to access where we go, and we respect where we go. And we also help the communities. You can see us, give school supplies. So we do it commensurate with our abilities. And for us, if you don't have the support of the community, you can have the best project in the world, but it's never going to get off the ground. So why should you invest in Mako? Well, obviously, we've got a nice gold discovery resource. I've shown you a clear pathway of how we're going to grow it. We believe on that 30-kilometer permit that our threshold is 2 million ounces, but we think there's probably 3, 4, 5 million ounces on there. We've got the team that's done this before, and the manganese is just a bonus to everything. So a very good investment opportunity. Thank you.